debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's an honour to stand in support of this motion because it reinforces what we are doing at home, has been very well articulated by my colleague, but also what we are doing globally. As Canada pursues its progressive free trade agenda, it very much puts the well-being of women at the centre, as well as other marginalized groups, particularly those with the LGBT community or disabilities. And the reason that we're doing that is because we know that women's welfare is at the heart of the strength of families and of communities. As I travel as the Parliamentary Secretary for International Trade around the world, we make it a point in every single country we go to host a roundtable of women in international trade, because we want them to understand that they are helping Canada to achieve its goals of equality for women. And what we find is that whether we're in a strict Muslim country or a communist country or a country very much similar to ours, our progressive trade agenda is being celebrated, and women are attaching it to it because they know themselves the difference it makes when women are empowered and when women are thriving in business. I believe that our government's progressive agenda is actually suggesting to the world that women will be one of the greatest drivers of progress the world has ever seen. And this motion allows us to say that to Canadians and to ask Canadians to take responsibility for that, because who are we to travel around the world and suggest that what we think our progressive trade agenda is all about includes women everywhere else. The current reality facing women globally is that we continue to be less represented in the workplaces of the world. We make less money than men. We do more menial jobs. We face discrimination at work, and we face discrimination when we access services. We're subject to violence because of our gender. We face barriers to education. We carry the lion's share of raising children. And frequently, we're denied the right to determine the fate of our own bodies. Those statements sound quite bold, and maybe they sound like exaggerations, but they're not. And so from my perspective, the point of this motion is to allow us to say those things out loud and to allow people to reflect on their experience as women or men and ask themselves, have I stretched in order to ensure that women have the same opportunity as men do? Increasing the participation of women in society improves the lives of women, of families, and of communities. With regard, for example, to the well-known microfinancing lender, the Grameen Bank, he came to the conclusion after several years that really the best investment was to make microloans to women. 97% of the world's largest microfinancing bank lends to women. And there's several concrete reasons and several concrete outcomes. One is women pay it back. They are less of a risk. Secondly, when they have money, they invest first of all in their children, second of all in their home, thirdly in their community, and fourthly in themselves. And I forgot to mention that they also tend to bring other women with them and share with them the opportunity. So we know that that has been very successful. It's highly documented. It's also well documented that when your corporate board is equally made up of women and men, the bottom line is that much stronger. I would suggest that there's reasons that are related to the reasons I just gave for that. So what we're doing by not establishing this week as one tool that we have is that we're essentially saying we don't want to realize our full potential as a society. We don't want to extend to each and every Canadian equal opportunity. And we can't stand proudly on our progressive free trade agenda unless we are doing this equally at home. I think at the times that we face right now in the world, our progressive trade agenda is looked to as a beacon and hopeful, and it's very much needed. And I think that that's going to be powered by the women in Canada and the women around the world who relate to the policies of our government and the ones that are celebrated in this motion and in this week that I certainly hope we will be celebrating this fall. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.